folks, what's going on? It's Dave McRae here. And, the date today is Tuesday, August the 18th, 2020. It's 11:03 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And, what was I looking at here? Oh, yeah, it's episode 92. Episode 92 of McRae Live. Hey, let's do that again. I love that track. It's too short. Episode 92 of McRae Live. Today, I want to talk about, they're doing it. They're doing it. They're remaking Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. And it's going to be starring Kevin Hart and Will Smith. Will Smith and Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart and Willie Smithy. Billy Smith. Folks, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is one of my favorite comedies of all time. Of all time. The original Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is one of my favorite comedies of all time. And, of course, starring Steve Martin and the late, great John Candy. 1987, I believe, is when that movie came out. I always remember my dad telling me, my dad actually saw it in the theater. And I remember before my dad passed, because for those of you that may not know, both my parents passed in 2011. And I remember my dad, he was on assignment. I think he was out in Vancouver doing some story. And him and his friend had some downtime. At least this is what I recollect. This is what I recollect. This is what I recollect. This is what I remember. And I think he saw it with his friend, and they both just couldn't stop laughing. They both couldn't stop laughing. It was hilarious. And I would have loved to have seen this in the theater, because even though in 1987 I would have been eight, that's right, recollect. That's right. Yeah, I said recollect. Even though they would have been, I would have been 8. I still would have found the movie hilarious, absolutely hilarious, and I have always thought of it as one of my. It is up there for me with the original Vacation, starring Chevy Chase, Beverly D'Angelo, Anthony Michael Hall. Halloween! No, that's it. Yeah! No. Let's talk about Halloween! No, let's not, because there's nothing to fucking talk about. Dave, what about that thing that it's up there. Vacation, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles are probably my 2 favorite comedies of all time. I mean, that's definitely aging myself there, but it is. And I have here, let's see, the original Planes, Trains, and Automobiles on VHS. There we are. There it is. The original Planes, Trains, and Automobiles on VHS. I love it. This is, I picked this up. This copy, I wouldn't have got this 1990. Okay, so the movie came out in 1987. This copy is from 1990. So this copy is 30 years old. And it's in great shape. I mean, really, if you look at it, it's in really good shape. A little bit of fraying up here, right there. A little bit, kind of up there. But other than that, I mean, it's in really good shape. Really, really good shape. Huge fan of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, of course. And then naturally, I moved over to DVD, and then I got it on DVD. There it is on DVD. This copy was from 2000. This is from 2000. So this is a 2000 copy of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles on DVD. Pretty cool. And that's what it looks like. That was when DVDs used to actually put sheets in here, and they didn't actually, have anything that told you that it was recycled. Well, who's buying DVDs anymore? But probably for the longest time, I can remember buying DVDs, And of course, they would have the recycling symbol there, and they wouldn't have anything. It'd be plain. And sometimes they wouldn't even have any artwork. It'd just be like a plain DVD, like I burned it myself and I just put it in a box and shoved it in the $5 bin at Walmart. I mean, that's literally what DVDs have become now. It's just insane. I'm a physical media guy, in case you guys haven't noticed. I like physical media. I always will. Digital to me is just so shallow and hollow. I understand the advantages of it. I understand that's the way we're going, and there's not a goddamn thing I can do about it. But I'm telling you right now, I'm a physical media guy, and that's probably why all my physical media, despite their age, is in really good shape. DVD, and then I also got this version on DVD as well. With the 3D cover. It's the Those Aren't Pillows edition. Those Aren't Pillows edition. Oh, yes. The 3D cover. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool indeed. And this is in great shape, too. I think this might be when they moved over to recycling. Yes, there we go. Remember when they started doing this? We just want to let you know that this plastic was made from recycled materials. We just want to let you know that. Who fucking cares? I don't fucking care. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. Yeah, but this was made with recycling material. Isn't this wonderful? We're saving the environment. I don't care. Does the movie play? Does it play in my DVD player? Can I watch it? Is it the same movie? Is it still fucking hilarious? Great. What are the special features? Oh, that's nice. Oh, that's good. Oh, that's good. Special features. Getting there and have the fun. The story of planes, trains, and automobiles. John Hughes for adults. A tribute to John Candy. Deleted scenes. Airplane food. Well, that's great. I don't give a shit that it was made with recycled material. I don't care. And it ruins the aesthetic of the box. Anyway, that's I'm telling you, that's I don't give a shit. What do you think, you're some virtuous moral person because look, we got to do this. I don't care. I mean, listen, if you bought this, and you opened it up and it didn't have this, recycling, it didn't have that, would anybody go, Jesus Christ, you mean to fucking tell me this wasn't made with recycled materials? Well, fuck that. I'm not fucking, screw that. I'm taking this back. What are you doing, Dave? I'm taking it back to Walmart. Why? Because it's not made with recycled material. It needs to be made with recycled material. Nobody gives a shit. Nobody cares. And then, of course, I bought it on Blu-ray as well. Here it is on Blu-ray, and I picked this up a couple years ago. I think I picked this up. I don't know when this version, this copy, 87, yeah. Does it give me the copy when this was? Don't see it there. It was probably a couple years ago, or I'm sure I can look for it online. And, I still have the digital code. It expired a long time ago. Anyway, of course, the Blu-ray. And it also comes with a DVD as well. So you get the Blu-ray, the digital copy, and the DVD. But the digital copy, I think, has expired, if I'm not mistaken. I think it has. Yes, it has. Yep. So, October 2019. So I must have just picked this up last year. That's weird. I thought I had this for a while. Anyway, Blu-ray copy of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. So I have Planes, Trains, and Automobiles twice on DVD, once on VHS, once on Blu-ray. I'm sure if it comes out on 4K, it's completely unnecessary. You gotta see it in 4K, man. John Candy is even more huge. I mean, I don't know. I love John Candy. It's just a joke, folks. Relax. Fucking relax. So anyway, they are remaking Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. And, I mean, look, anytime you make a beloved of anything or remake a beloved of anything, somebody's going to lose their mind. Somebody's going to lose their fucking mind. And Planes, Trades, and Automobiles is one of those movies that is going to piss off more people than it's going to please in terms of the idea of remaking it. And it is. It's one of the most beloved classics in the classic comedies in the history of film. Certainly it's a classic of the 80s. Certainly it's arguably one of John Candy and Steve Martin's best movies. It's my favorite John Candy movie. I know a lot of people tend to turn to Uncle Buck as their favorite, and that's a great movie. I mean, if you want to put that ahead of Planes, Trains, That's not, I mean, they're pretty interchangeable at the end of the day. But for me, there's something about Planes, Trains, and Automobiles I just absolutely adore. And I think his Del Griffith is it's just hilarious. It's just hilarious to me. And so I'm a huge Planes, Trains fan. Let's go over to Deadline, who was reporting it. This is what they are saying, folks. This is what they are saying. Here we go. Exclusive. Paramount Pictures has set a remake of the Paramount Pictures has set a remake of the classic John Hughes 1987. Oh, I see what they're saying. Okay. Yes, Paramount Pictures has set a remake of the classic John Hughes 1987 road trip comedy Planes, Trains, and Automobiles as a star vehicle for Will Smith and Kevin Hart. Hart's Heartbreak Productions and Smith's Westbrook Studios will produce. In her feature debut, Aisha Carr, I think that's how you say that, Aisha Carr, will write the script. Her TV credits include Brooklyn Nine-Nine and the upcoming Hulu series Woke. Well, there's a series that's going to get a lot of people watching. I'm just saying, you know how people are. The original starred Steve Martin and John Candy as a mismatched duo forced to become bunkmates. Bunkmates. What does that even mean? Well, hey, they're bunkmates. It's amazing. What the fuck is? I don't know. Bunkmates and traveling partners in a desperate attempt to get home to loved ones for Thanksgiving after their flights are canceled. A slew of holiday travel disasters follow, and they mix like water and oil. Hart and Smith produce with Westbrook Studios co-president and head of motion pictures John Moan and Heartbeat's president of film and television Brian Smiley. You know what? No offense to anybody out there who's got the last name Smiley, but man, that must piss you off. You know, do people ever come up to you and go, "Hi, why aren't you smiling today, Smiley?" Anyway, the film seems like an ideal one for a new version from Paramount. Yeah, that's right. The film seems like an ideal one for a new version from Paramount. It was very funny, but writer-director Hughes made it exceptionally touching considering the high-concept road trip premise. Well, not just considering the high-concept road trip premise, but there's real heart in that movie. No pun intended to Kevin Hart, of course. But there really is real heart in that movie. You know, and if you've never seen it, I'm not going to spoil it for you. And for people in the chat, please don't spoil the ending for those. You know, because some people may not have seen it, so I don't want people spoiling it. Oh God, I hate when Dave does the crazy fan voice. Good, I'll keep doing it just to piss you off. Because I don't care. So it had real heart. And of course, there's that thing that you discover the way through, which was like, oh my God, you know, and it just adds that layer. It adds that layer to the film that is amazing, you know, and really, you know, and John Candy is just adorable. And you know, it's got a lot of heart in the film. And so I imagine that is not lost on Aisha, I think her name is. I imagine that's not, hopefully I'm saying that right. If I'm not, I apologize. I don't think that's lost because it's a big part of what makes this movie charming, endearing, and people really loving it. Do you know what I mean? Because it's not just a silly comedy. It's not just, you know, these two guys have real powerful arcs. You know, and there's a message and a moral to the film as well, obviously, as it relates to Thanksgiving. And most people have seen this movie. But it's you know, there's more to it than just the comedy, you know. So that's important. Like, yes, you know, they say here, considering the high concept road trip premise, that's true. You know, it is a high concept road trip premise, but that's the idea, is that it's not really about the road trip. It's about the road trip is the vessel that allows these characters to bond, to get to know each other, and for secrets and things to be revealed as they gain each other's trust through this catalyst, essentially, which is the road trip. Do you know what I mean? It's not really about I'm not saying that they're saying that. I'm just, essentially adding to what they're saying, right? It's not, they're right. It's not really about this. It's about the characters and their journey and the discoveries between themselves, the friendship that's built, and the way Planes, Trains, and Automobiles ends. I can imagine that I can imagine that Del probably found that Neil helped Del find a place in Chicago. They remained friends. You know what I mean? Like, I can totally see that happening. So, yeah. He caught 2 superb physical comedic actors at the peak of their powers. Absolutely. Here's a refresher course if you don't remember. Well, we don't need to go through the refresher course, but there it is. Carr most recently executive produced the upcoming Hulu series Woke, which premieres in September, starring new girls Lamorne. Here I go again with my phonetic Morris. Anyway, I'm sure you know who she is. I don't. And SNL's Sashir Zamata. She wrote episodes and became a supervising producer on Brooklyn Nine-Nine and was a writer on Rel. Wait a minute. Is this the same? Hang on a sec. Is this the same? Hang on. Let me just scroll back to Aisha for a second here. I want to look this woman up. Because I think I actually know. Not know who she is, but I think I know. Now it's coming to my head who she is, I think. Okay. Yes. Right. Okay. Yeah, Born Again Virgin. She also had Mixology. Yeah. Okay. House of Pain. Yeah, I've heard her name. Right. I've heard her name. Okay. Yeah, Born Again Virgin. She also had Mixology. Yeah. Okay. House of Pain. All right. There we go. Let me go back. Okay. There we go. Yes. Okay. I think I know who she is now. At first I was like, why does that name sound so familiar? I think I know who she is. Rel, The Carmichael Show, Mixology, Everybody Hates Chris, and My Wife and Kids. Car is repped by ICM Partners. Well, you don't care about that kind of stuff. ICM is one of the big agencies. You got ICM, you got William Morris Endeavor, you got CCA or CAA. CCA or CAA? It's one of the two. Anyway, okay, so, interesting. Here's what I have to say about this. This is not going to be popular. And I say this as a gigantic Planes, Trains, and Automobiles fan. Listen, he's probably not watching, but there was a guy in junior high school. So this is the early 90s. So this is not too far removed from when the movie came out, maybe 5 years or so. I remember when my buddy in junior high school, his name's Cameron Downey. He's a police officer now. And in school, we used to quote this movie all the time. And it would just be out of the blue. Like, I'd be walking down the hall and he'd be walking in the opposite direction or something. And he'd just say something like, what were some of the things we'd say? I can't remember. Just lines from the movie, like I'd be at my locker or something, and he'd come up to me and he'd put his hand on my shoulder and he'd go, "Stick with me," and then he'd just leave. And of course, that's, if you know Planes, Trains, and then of course I would just like walk up to him and be like, "Listen, we'd have better luck playing pick up six with our butt cheeks than we would getting out of here tonight," or something. I'd say something like that, and he'd laugh, and we'd be throwing those back and forth to each other all the time, and so much so that people were like, "Okay, guys, we get it. You love Planes, Trains, and Automobiles." So I'm a gigantic fan, and like I said, here we are, VHS. DVD, the special edition DVD, the Those Aren't Pillows edition DVD, the regular DVD, the Blu-ray. I'm a huge fan. This news didn't This news didn't piss me off. It didn't piss me off. And if you had asked me, 6 months ago, would a Planes, Trains, and Automobiles remake piss you off? I'd be like, well, I mean, but see, I'm not one of those people either. I'm also somebody, I'm not one of those people. I do think there are movies that don't need to be remade and feel unnecessary. Like, is there a demand for this? Is there a calling for this? Can you remake it? Like, for me, if I was approaching and listen, it's all about money at the end of the day, but looking at it from an artistic side, remakes, there will always be remakes. And there's nothing wrong with that in and of itself. Scarface is a remake. There's a lot of movies you probably watched. True Lies is a remake, by the way. It's an American remake of a French film, I think. Anyway, there's a lot of movies that you don't realize, that Americans especially, no offense, don't realize are actually remakes of other movies. There's a lot of remakes. And that's okay. We tell stories over again, and that in and of itself is okay. But usually, I like when remakes are done because either the movie was ahead of its time and things that are happening in that movie, the subject matter, the story, the content is somehow more relevant today than, say, it was 35, 40 years ago. That's one angle you can look at. Another angle is the effects. Can we do the effects better? Like, was this made during a time when the effects were, and it's really that hybrid too. It's not like in the 60s where the effects were all practical. It's that sort of like early to mid 80s where it's like very early CGI, and oh my God, it doesn't age well at all. Like, it probably looked really cool in the 80s, like in like 85, 86, you're like, oh, this is really cool, but there's some movies like, and even Nick Castle, I'm sure, would agree. Some movies like The Last Starfighter, it's kind of like, story's great. Effects haven't aged too well because it was, those kind of effects were really in its infancy, right? So, but if you go back to like the original Planet of the Apes, from 1968, I think, looks great because it's all practical. Like, it's not like a hybrid of like, oh, you know what I mean? Anyway, the point I'm making is that I'm okay with remakes if it's like, yeah, it's more relevant today. We want to, polish this up, and because it's relevant again, and we want to tell this story again from this point of view, from this perspective, with this, like, okay, yeah, I get that. We can do the effects better now. We can make it a better movie because of that. I understand that. Totally get that. But remaking comedies, but then at the same time, you got to look at it from a business side too, right? John Candy is dead. Steve Martin's not relevant. He's relevant to us, for people in their 40s and 50s and 60s, but to the average younger person, they don't even know. There are a lot of people that don't even know who the fuck John Candy is, because he died in 1994. 26 years ago. 26 years ago. He's been dead longer than he was alive with a career. Think about that. He's been dead longer than he had a career. And Steve Martin is, well into his 70s, and he's I don't think he's fully retired from acting. I don't think, but he's probably semi-retired. But he's not the draw that he was, which happens to everybody, right? Kevin Hart is hot right now, and I like Kevin Hart. I think Kevin Hart's really fucking funny. I do. I don't think he's funny all the time, but you put him in the right role with the right people to complement him, and I think he's funny. And Will Smith is good at playing both. I think he can play the straight man, and I think he can play somebody who's really funny. So I have no doubt that in this movie, Kevin Hart will probably be the Del Griffith character, and Will Smith will probably be the Neil Page character, which I can see that. I can see that. And I'm kind of like, I don't know. I like both these actors. And I think they're both, when I think of who they would probably play in a remake, I think to myself, I think they would, like, it's going to be different. Of course it's going to be different. It's not going to be John Candy and Steve Martin. Kevin Hart will probably not be a shower curtain ring salesman. They'll make him something else that's silly. You know, Will Smith might not be some sort of marketing advertising exec or whatever he was, right? He'll probably be something else, you know, or maybe something in business, right? And that's okay. But I think the reason why I'm curious, like, I'm not happy about it because it's one of my favorite comedies of all time. And I definitely don't think it needs to be remade at all. Of course not. It doesn't, because I don't think there's anything, I don't think the story is more relevant today than it was 33 years ago. I don't. I think 33 years ago, I think the morals and the messages that were very apparent in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles from 1987 are just as apparent and just as relevant today, right? I mean, that's what Thanksgiving's all about. So I don't think it's like, oh, wait a minute, we need to remake this movie now because people have lost sight of what was really important at Thanksgiving time. No, I don't think that's true at all. I think we all know. I don't think we all practice it. We don't all say thanks because it's just a holiday. It's just a, you know, it's a holiday like any other holiday. You know, it's like, you know, Christmas, right? I mean, let's be honest. Oh, Christmas is really, it's all, no, it's not. I mean, yes, that sounds nice if you want to fucking print that on a t-shirt. But the fact of the matter is, Christmas is about money and gifts. Of course, that's what it's about. Of course it is. And it's really for the kids at the end of the day, right? But in terms of like the moral and the message in Planes, Trains from 87, I don't think we've lost sight of that. I think that's why it has endeared. I think that's why there's longevity to it. I think that's why it's still endeared and revered today, because it's still relevant today. The morals and the messages about love and loss and family and, you know, and friendship and, you know, selflessness and, you know, all that, it's still relevant. It's still relevant. It'll never not be relevant. It's part of what we strive to be. It's part of being a better human being. It's part of being a better person, right? So that's why I'm kind of like, okay, well, I don't think you need to remake it because of that. Like, it's not like, hey, we need a reminder and we need Planes, Trains to remind us. No, we can just watch Planes, Trains. It's fine. Effects, not really any effects in the movie. I mean, even the practical effects in the car with them, you know, as they go between the two trucks and, you know, the devil and the, you know, the skulls, looks great, looks fine because of what it is. It wasn't supposed to be anything more than that. So it looks fine, it looks great. Or it's not really any, you know, effects in the movie per se. It's all character, story, and situational. It's all situational humor, and the performances from Martin and Candy. So, you know, you don't need to remake it because of that. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, Dave, it looks like you're making an argument to not remake it. Well, I am. I'm saying that it's completely unnecessary, but for some reason, it's not pissing me off. And when I found out about the news yesterday, I was scratching my head and I was thinking, why isn't this pissing me off? Well, number one is I don't get pissed off over these things. That's number one, and something you have to keep in mind. I'm not one of those, I'm not that kind of person, right? You know, I tend to poke fun at people like that. So that's number one. It's not going to affect me in that way. I mean, even when I found out that Rob Zombie was remaking Halloween, I was like, oh, that kind of, why are you going to do? But I wasn't like, of course, social media wasn't really a thing then. But I still wouldn't have done that. So I think what it is I think I'm curious because I like both Kevin Hart and Will Smith. I like them as actors. I think Kevin Hart, although he's predominantly known for his comedic side, I think he can turn it on. I think he can be actually very good at the drama as well. I'm not suggesting that he's playing the Neil Page. No, I think he's clearly going to be the Del. But certainly that moment towards the end of the movie when he needs to turn that on, when they're, if they're going to have a similar sort of, and it doesn't have to be the exact same thing, but there's got to be something there like that for his character. There's got to be. Oh, Do you know? Because that's the heart. That's the core of the film. That's what brings it all home. That's what solidifies the message. That's the Michael being gone at the end of Halloween. I was, yeah, there you go, you little fucking Halloween fans. I bring it back to you, don't I? Bring it back to you. But that's what it is, right? That's the moment when he's gone. It's like, oh, it brings it all home, brings the moral and the message home. So that moment for Neil Page or for Del is, and he can turn that on. I mean, Kevin Hart can, absolutely can. I guess it's because I like the characters, or I like the actors. I like them. I don't recall there's a couple of Will Smith movies the movies I don't like, but he's generally really good in anything that he's in. And Kevin Hart, sure, there's some movies that are hit and miss, but he's generally good at what he does. So you pair them together and I'm like, well, this might be interesting. It doesn't mean it's going to be a good movie. And of course I still have the original, and it's not going to ruin my child. Ruin your child. I love that line. I think that all began with George Lucas in the prequels. You ruined my childhood. You ruined my childhood. It's it's so extreme. It's so like, what kind of fucking lame ass child? Anyway, so I'm curious. I'm very curious to see this movie, to see what it's like, because I think there's potential there for it to be pretty good. Like, I'll give you an example. So one of my other favorite comedies of all time is, I think it came out in 87 too, actually, if I'm not mistaken, is Overboard with Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn. Love that movie. Adore that movie. One of my favorite comedies of all time. Like, my 3 top favorite comedies of all time are probably like Vacation, Planes, Trains, and Overboard. I just love that movie. And so the other night, I decided to watch the remake of Overboard with Anna Faris, I think her name is. And so now Overboard is one of those movies that when I saw that they were remaking it, again, I was like, why? Why are you doing that? Okay. And then it stars Anna Faris. I'm like, okay, well, I like her. I think she's funny. I wasn't familiar with the Mexican actor who was playing opposite her. I think I've seen him in a few things, but I wasn't familiar with him. I was okay, so I'm going to watch this. I watched it, and you know what? It wasn't a disaster. It's completely unnecessary. It didn't really offer anything new. They not gender switched, but role switched, I should say. Well, switched the genders in terms of who it's happening to, right? So instead of the female having amnesia and, now it's the male, and, they do the switch. And there are some things that are different. Like they do add a few different things, but it's a very, it's almost like if you like, it's very much almost a beat for beat remake. I mean, you want to talk about beat for beat, how that's tossed out there like it's going out of style. The Force Awakens is literally a beat for beat remake of A New Hope. It's like, yeah, no, actually it's literally not. But anyway, people throw out the word. Anyway, so, but this movie was like, there were a lot of similarities in here. Like I could count the beats of what they were doing, right? And very, very similar. But the performances were very good. And it was I hate to say it because I know it sounds blasphemous, but you guys know me. I don't say, like, I tell you how I think. I don't pull or toe any party lines here. This is what I think. I think the Overboard remake from 2018 is all right. It's all right. It's unnecessary, but it's not a total disaster. Total disaster. It's a total disaster. It's Donald Trump when he's losing his voice. It's a total disaster. It's not. It's actually not. It's not a movie that I would probably watch again. I mean, if it's on TV, I might watch a couple of minutes of it or something. But I would always default to the original. And there's a variety of reasons for that, obviously, right? Because I grew up with the 1987 film. And up until just 2 years ago, that's all there was. So obviously, I'm going to watch that movie. But the 2018 Overboard is not terrible. It's not great because it's like, well, it's like very similar, but you watch it and at the end I was like, that was okay. Like it was interesting to see. It was almost like like when you get to this kind of thing with Overboard, it's almost like a tribute. It's almost like you're watching a tribute, like it's just like it's fake. It's not even canon. It's not even real. It's just they got together and they made like a tribute special or something, and you're like, wow, that was really cool. That was really well done. It kind of had that feel to it where I was like, well, it's not a great movie, but it's not a disaster. And for the first like 20 minutes, I was like, I don't know. But then you settle into it, you know, and you're like, it's okay. It's not, and I got to be honest. So maybe when I heard, because it was only a couple of days after watching that this news dropped with Planes, Trains. So maybe that's why. Maybe there's part of me that's thinking to, even though I don't realize it subconsciously, it's the Overboard film is having sort of an effect in the sense of, well, maybe it'll be okay, you know, and maybe we can be like, you know, we'll walk away going, that was okay. You know, it was funny. It was charming. It's not Planes, Trains from 87. Of course not, because we're emotionally attached to that. There's the nostalgia around that, and we love that. And it's a great movie through and through. I just thought, I wonder if they're going to do the cameo scene. You know how Kevin Bacon has a cameo in Planes, Trains. I bet you they'll do that. I bet you they'll have some cameo. It'll probably be like The Rock or somebody. I bet you it'll be The Rock. That'd be fucking funny. But anyway, the point I'm making is that if I can watch this movie and walk away from it going, that was okay. You know, that was, it felt like a tribute, you know, like a, you know, tip of the hat kind of thing. And that was fun. And they were both funny and charming. And I know it's not the greatest thing since sliced bread. It's not better than the original, but it's not a total disaster. It's not a total disaster. As long as it's not a total disaster, okay? As long as it's not a total disaster, then I might be okay with it. And like I said, it may have something to do with watching Overboard the other day, where I was like, because I was expecting a dog shit movie. I was expecting to watch the remake of Overboard because I love the original so much, one of my favorite comedies of all time. I was expecting to watch it and like turn it off halfway through, or at the end of the movie be like, that was fucking shit. Like that was, I have to be honest with you. I didn't think it was shit. And I think a large part of that, because I wasn't familiar with the Mexican actor, I think he's Mexican, although he's extremely popular in Mexico. I think a part of that is because Anna Faris, I do like, and she's charming, and she's funny. And I think that helped. So when I think of Kevin Hart and Will Smith, and what chemistry may or may not be there, I think if I can walk away going, that was charming. That was okay. That wasn't a total disaster. You know what I mean? Like it was okay. Maybe that's what I'm hoping for. And I think maybe my like I said, watching Overboard the other day, the remake maybe kind of helped me to feel this way about this. But I agree. I mean, you don't need to remake this movie because there's nothing in the movie that we need to be reminded of today that we couldn't get by watching the original movie. I mean, it's just that simple. So I don't know, folks, comment below and let me know your thoughts. How do you feel about this remake? And really think about this. Like, you know, because I know that they're remaking everything, but really think about this. Do you think that this could be a movie where you walk away from going, you know, it wasn't bad. Like you like Kevin Hart, you like Will Smith, you know, you put them together, you know, it's not going to be like, you know, Shobbs and Haw here. I mean, it's not that kind of a movie. You know, it's hopefully going to have heart and warmth and some humor. And maybe at the end, you might be like, that was okay. That wasn't bad. It wasn't a total disaster. I mean, maybe, right? You know, that's kind of, I guess I'm very cautiously optimistic, but don't get me wrong. Planes, Trains, folks, one of my favorite comedies of all time. I mean, I got a ton of copies here, VHS, DVD, it is. But I gotta be honest, I'm not completely outraged about this. Now, maybe I will be if they fuck it up, or maybe we get a synopsis, or we get some more casting and we find out a little more information about what they're trying to do. Then I might be like, well, hang on a sec here. Okay, I see what you're doing. No. Who knows, right? But the initial announcement of this, it's not bothering me the way I thought it might. The way I thought it might. I know, maybe I need to be punched in the face. I don't know. There's probably people out there that go, you need to be punched in the face anyway, McRae. It's like an angry Donald Trump who's on acid or something. I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who'd like to punch me in the face. I don't care. But maybe that's it. I mean, maybe, I don't know. Comment below and let me know. What do you guys think in the chat room? Let me know in the chat room as well. Did I say Shabs and Ha? I meant, is that what I said? Shabs and Ha? I meant Hobbs and Shaw. If I said Shabs and Ha, I meant I meant Hobbs and Shaw. That's funny. If I said Hobbs and Shaw or Shabs and Ha, I meant Hobbs and Shaw. Thank you, Darren. Thank you very much. Coming to my rescue. I appreciate it. Hey, let's go over to see what you guys are saying in the chat room. I did. Okay, well, I clearly meant Hobbs and Shaw. No, Shabs and Ha is the sequel that they're doing where they switch. You know, it's very progressive, you know, this series. I'm telling you. Let's see what you guys are saying. Okay. Some super chats did come in, and we got Intel Wild. It says Dave is officially breaking down, joking. Oh, that must have been when I was doing shit at the beginning with the recycling. Yeah. Thank you, buddy. Tyler Davis says should have been maybe Jason Bateman and Kevin James. Well, I guess if you're looking at it being because, you know, Kevin James is, of course, you know, fatter, more stout, right? More rotund. I guess if you want to do that, but I actually think it's probably better to do Smith and Hart because it doesn't look like you're trying to just replicate. You mean, oh, well, okay, now we need a fat guy in the role. We need a guy who's, the straight edge, who's known for playing the anal retentive guy. So you got the guy who's the fat guy who can play, and we got the anal retentive guy. I think I actually have a feeling that may have pissed more people off. I don't know. Comment below. Let me know. Let me know in the chat room. Balboa sends in a £2 super chat. Thank you very much, Balboa. Intel Wild sends in a $10 super chat. Thank you, says Dave. William in the chat room brought up that if the campaign ends September 2nd, will you have time to put the last-a-thon money into the campaign total when it ends? No, not that I know of. When the campaign ends, nobody could, you can't put any more money to it. Now, there is something that you can do to continue to fund, but in order to do that, you have to roll out certain perks in a certain period of time, and we're not guaranteed. I don't feel confident that we'll be able to do that, so I don't want to then move into that phase. It's better that I don't, and we just sort of cut off there. So the money that is raised through that, when that comes in, that will go into an account that I've set up. It's the same account that the money will come in from the campaign. So it'll just top up then. And then what I can do is that once that is done, I can take a snapshot of the total, not of my account, but of the total, and post that for people to see and things like that. But as far as I know, unless you move into the other phase, but in order to move into that phase, you have to then roll out certain perks within a certain period of time. And I don't think we'll be able to do that. So I don't want to overpromise or bite off more than I can chew, because it's our first campaign, right? I mean, maybe once we get rolling and we do a couple of these over the years, who knows? Maybe then we'll have like a real handle on it. But we want to really sort of, be cautious with that kind of stuff. So no, because as far as I know, once the campaign ends, you can't add any more money to it. So you won't see the campaign total go up, but you'll definitely, once everything comes in, I will add that total to my account, and then I'll just show you like a JPEG of the account total or something like that. So you guys know that it's gone up. Let me see here. Intel Wild says, Dave, you keep mentioning the original had Hart. That's why they got Kevin Hart. See what I did there? I saw what you did there. That's true. That's true. David Lee Barron sends in a super chat. And what does David Lee say? David Lee Barron says, Dave, Your Majesty, any plans for a Pet Peeves 3 video? I've seen your other ones. First one was great. The sequel was even better. Now we're ready for you to do ready for you to close out on this trilogy. No immediate plans. I'd have to think of some stuff that does sort of peeve me off, and I'm not entirely sure what that is. But I will. I'll have to figure that out. I'm not entirely sure what that is. So I'll have to figure that out. Let's see, because once I do, I have all sort of the pet peeves. I might be able to do that, but I don't want to just make it up. Like, I don't want to make up something that is a general pet peeve, but isn't necessarily a pet peeve for me. I want it to be very specific to, and things that people maybe not have thought about. Let's see here. A happy guy says Steve Martin should do a cameo. He could be the executive who can't make up his mind. In principle, I like the charm of that. But sometimes when you do that, it can just piss people off. Because then you're kind of like, well, he looks exactly like Neil Page. Why isn't he just playing Neil Page? It actually would probably be more like, for example, even though Overboard, the remake, is a remake, there's one line in the Overboard remake, one line. I know most of you probably haven't seen this movie, and you probably don't even remember the original, but there's one line in the Overboard remake when Anna Faris's character is going to the hospital to start her scam in terms of convincing the guy that she's his wife. As her and the doctor are walking down the hall, the doctor, I think Anna Faris says something like, does this happen often? Or, does this happen often, or is this normal, whatever? And the doctor's like, well, no, it's not that common. And we only had something like that happen once about 30 years ago to a blonde, and I was like, oh, that's such a nice little, that's a nod to the original film. And then I was like, oh, technically, from a certain point of view, the Overboard remake is a sequel from a certain point of view, because there's that one line the doctor says, no, we only had one incident about 30, I think he says 33 years ago. Some blonde girl had it. And it's like, well, he's talking about Goldie Hawn's character in the original Overboard, right? Which was 33 years ago. So, or 30 years ago at that time. I guess he said 30 years ago. So, I was like, oh, that's interesting. And that's better than having Goldie Hawn show up and you're kind of like, that's the same person. I think it would be better if you were to have Steve Martin in the movie, it would be better just to have him as Neil Page. And it would be better, rather than him being somebody else, I don't think you should have him in the movie at all, actually, because I think that's probably going to rub some, it's just, why take the risk? Why take the risk? Because you're already behind the eight ball by just remaking the movie. So to then add Steve Martin into it, although it might seem like, oh, that'll get more people on board to have him in it as a cameo. Well, yeah, I don't know. Because then it just seems like, why, it's just a reminder. It's more salt into the wound, really, at the end of the day. But if you were going to have him in it, I wouldn't necessarily have him as somebody else. I'd have him as Neil Page. And I would still have it as a cameo. And maybe he turns to Will Smith's character and he has some sort of funny quip about advice about traveling with a guy like that. You know what I mean? But it's very quick. It's not overdone, but it's a nice moment. Maybe Neil Page is in the airport, and he bumps into him and, Neil Page notices, and kind of reminds him of something, and he just has a little bit of advice for him, and then he's on his way. I would rather that. I would rather him not be in the movie, but if he is in the movie, I'd rather that, because that to me is always like, oh, that's cute. I like that. That's charming, and it's classy. It's classy. But to have him in the movie as somebody completely different when he still fucking looks like Neil Page, it's like, I know what they're trying to do, but it's like having Bill Murray and Ernie Hudson and Dan Aykroyd in the Ghostbusters remake, but they're not Ray Stantz, Winston Zeddemore, and Peter Venkman. It's kind of like I know what they're trying to do, and A for effort, but it probably would have pissed more. less people off if Peter Venkman was just, or if he was just Peter Venkman, you know, and Ernie Hudson shows up at the end as Winston Zeddemore, as the father or the grandfather, whoever he was, of the main shit. Like, that would have been, still would have pissed people off, but it would have been more digestible, I guess, because it feels more organic. I don't know. That's how I think of it anyway. That's a good question, though. That's a good question. Let's see here. Some more super chats came in. Intel Wild says, Dave, in your opinion, how much of the budget percentage-wise do you think we will achieve at the end of the campaign? For It's Me, Billy. I don't know. I mean, what are we sitting at right now? We are at... we're at 465 backers, $42,436 Canadian, 16 days left. That will change to 15 days later this afternoon. So just over 2 weeks left in the campaign. I don't know. I mean, we're probably not going to hit 60. Now, unless somebody with deep pockets comes in and drops a couple of bombs, you know, buys an executive producer package, you know, or buys, and I'm actually surprised. Well, I'm not surprised. I mean, it is a lot of money, but what other big packages are left? So the associate producer package is gone. McRae Live is still available. Filmmaking 101 special package. Nobody's claimed that. Well, I'm kind of surprised by that because you get a hell of a lot. Two Dudes. There's still two left of Two Dudes. 3 people have claimed the Two Dudes perk. So yeah, I mean, to reach 60,000, somebody would have to come in and drop some bombs, you know, some bombs. So probably not. Most of the people that were going to donate have already donated, and they did right out of the gate because of the hype for it. And that's okay. That's fine. But if we can get to 50,000, which is only, I mean, you include the 2,000 that I still have to add to it, right? Because we're at 42,000 right now in the campaign, but plus the 2,000 that I'm going to be adding to it probably the end of this week, beginning of next week, from the It's Me Billy-a-thon in July. So we're really at about 44,500. If we can get to 50,000, which is only another $6,000, we're in a good spot. We still need more, but we're in a good spot. And then, of course, Indiegogo takes their percentage, but we're in a good spot. But yeah, I mean, at this late in the game, in order for us to reach 60, somebody'd have to come in and drop a couple of bombs. I mean, it would just, you know, unless all of a sudden, you know, 500 people all of a sudden buy a Blu-ray, you know, which that can do it too. But yeah, that's really what it is at the end of the day. But if we can get to 50, if we can cross 50,000, like by the end of the 2 weeks, if it says like, you know, 51,210 or something, I mean, that's really good. You know, that's really good. You know, considering it's a Black Christmas fan film that nobody wanted, nobody, you know, there wasn't a demand for, you know, is really good. It's really, really good. So hopefully we can get to 50. It's only another $6,000. But we'll see. We'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Chris Baber, thank you so much, Chris, says thoughts on the Vacation reboot and Chevy and Beverly D'Angelo with their cameos. Yeah, the Vacation reboot I wasn't a big fan of. And the only part that I really liked was seeing the two of them. You know, and of course he opens the garage door and there's the family trucks. They're like, why the fuck does he still have this thing? You know, but of course it's Clark Griswold. I wasn't a big fan. I wasn't a big fan. There were some funny moments, you know, but yeah, it wasn't, I wasn't a huge fan. Let's just say that. I wasn't a huge fan of that. I didn't feel after watching that movie, funny enough, the same way I felt after watching the Overboard remake. Maybe it's because I had lower expectations. I don't know. But yeah, not a big fan really at the end of the day. Evil Alex says, Dave, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is called, let's see, in Germany. So it's called In Ticket für Zwei. Am I saying that? I'm not German, so I know I'm butchering that. And Overboard, in Goldfisch fällt ins Wasser. Probably butchered that. I think you just did that to get me to try and speak German. In Germany, there is no need for a remake. It's just for money. Well, there's no need for a remake with anything, right? But when you say it's just for money, yes, that's right. Folks, I mean, listen, it's not that people don't try to make the best movies they possibly can. Nobody goes into making a movie to try and make a shitty movie. But at the end of the day, it's always about the bottom line. It's always about the bottom line. They cast that, especially when you get to that level, you know, decisions are made on casting and pairing of actors purely based on how is this going to draw people into the thing, whether or not this will make bank. They do that. And sometimes it's not the right pairing, you know, for the movie, but the movie makes a shitload of money because everybody wants to see it because of them. I'm not saying that's what's happening here, but I'm just saying that it is always about the bottom line. Always. If you were a business person, and maybe you are, I don't know, but it's always about your bottom line, isn't it? Yes, you want to make sure your employees are happy. Yes, you want to, but there's reasons for that. There's reasons why, you know, people are paid shitty wages, but they shouldn't be. No, maybe they shouldn't, but they are, because it's about making as much money for the company as possible. You know, I mean, that's so they can, anyway, it's a whole other thing, but yes, it's just about money. Yep, that's right. That's right. And Kevin Hart and Will Smith are proven draws. So Will Smith, not so much anymore, but certainly you pair him with Hart and maybe. Let's see here. Danita Brown. Hello, Danita. Says, that idea would be a great way to have Steve in a cameo in the movie. I think so too. Because maybe obviously he'd be of an age where he probably would be retired from his job now. But I think that would be funny. That, you know, as Will Smith, and he has to bump into Will Smith's character. He can't bump into Kevin Hart's character. If Kevin Hart is playing Del, and who knows if his name's even going to be Del? Probably not. Probably not. You don't look at Kevin Hart and think, oh, his name's Del Griffith. No, it'll be something else, right? But playing the Del character, you don't have him run into Kevin Hart. You have him run into Will Smith's character, because then it becomes like a younger version of himself. He can identify with that. He can identify in that brief moment what Will Smith's character, Neil Page, is going through, right? And he recognizes it. And there's just a moment there. There's a moment, maybe as Will Smith is running to catch his plane or something, he bumps into him, you know, and he drops his bag or his briefcase or something, and Steve Martin's like, oh, I'm so sorry, you're trying to catch it. And he just has a bit of advice for him, you know? That's cute. That's cute. And if John Candy were alive today, I think it would be really cool to, if John Candy were alive today, I think it would be cool, a little on the nose if you did this twice, but I think it would be forgiving because of the kind of movie it is. You have Will Smith bump into Steve Martin, and then you have Kevin Hart bump into John Candy. I think that would be cool. And it's the same thing, just a bit of advice. You know what I mean? That would be cute. That would be cute. I'm okay with that. Now, whether that's going to be executed right, I have no idea. But I think that's the best way to do it. If you're going to have him in there. That's, I think, is the best way to do it. Let me just see here. I'll make sure I'm not missing any super chats. I'm not. Chris Baber was the last. Good. Tabitha Short. Hey, Tabitha. Great to see you here. Nice to see Tabitha here. Josh McGrath says, Dave, let's say you are on board, no pun intended, to make the new Jaws remake. What do you do? How do you make it scary? And do you use real great white sharks? Happy Shark Week. Well, I think I've talked about this before. Yes, you use real sharks in B-roll, in cutaways. Yes, absolutely. And you make it about the characters. I've said this 1,000 times that Jaws is the characters in Jaws and the chemistry between those. It's all about the characters. It's not about the shark. It can't be about, it is about the shark, but it's not about the shark because Bruce, the mechanical shark, there were so many problems. And you were supposed to see the shark a lot more of the shark earlier in the movie and a lot more of the shark more often. And because of the mechanical failures of the shark, it forced Spielberg and company to do what is now known as the Jaws effect, and keep the keep the antagonist at bay, build the suspense through the theater of the mind. And it was brilliant. It was a happy accident, as Bob Ross would say. And it was fantastic. But it only worked to the degree that it did because the characters were very well developed and interesting. It's why Godzilla from 2014 didn't work. Gareth Edwards tried to do the Jaws effect in Godzilla, where he'd show you glimpses of Godzilla, but then he'd cut to... But the characters are one-dimensional cookie-cutter monster movie characters. They're not as developed as, Brody and Hooper and Quint and Hamilton and Vaughn. And I mean, they're not. It's just not, right? And if you're going to be spending a lot of time with your characters, if you want to make a movie where you're going to do the Jaws effect, and that's okay. I mean, you want to build suspense and play more of the theater of the mind, okay. But you got to make sure then that your characters are really interesting, really well developed. The dynamics between them are really, really well fleshed out. Because we as an audience are going to be spending a lot of time with them. A lot of time with them. And if they're just cookie cutter one dimensional, we're just like, who cares? I mean, does anybody care when the shark is not on the screen in Jaws? I don't think anybody does, because the characters and what's going on around it and the suspense and the buildup is so rich and so well developed and so interesting that you just don't give a fuck. You don't care. And that's how you got to approach it. It's not a shark. It is a shark movie, but it's not just a shark movie. You know what I mean? So that's how I would approach it. If you're going to remake Jaws, characters, 100%. And yeah. So anyway, in a nutshell, that's how I would approach it anyway. David Lee Barron says, Dave, your majesty, my majesty. Well, thank you so much. I love when you say that. What was the exact moment the world of fandom became hostile and violent? Oh, the internet. The internet. I think at the end of the day, look, I mean, I think the world of fandom has always had pockets of hostility and violence towards each other. I mean, the internet didn't create it. You know, I'm sure when you went to a comic book convention or got together with certain people or talked to certain people, you know, back in the 80s or the 90s and, you know, things like that, you know, this kind of toxicity existed. But it has flourished to the degree that it has now because of the internet, because of the ease of access to information, because everybody, holy shit, I can type my opinion in a chat room or and everybody thinks their opinion matters. And, you know, if your opinion matters to you, yes, but if it's not an informed opinion that's based on facts or evidence, then it doesn't have to matter to anybody else. It doesn't have to. It doesn't have to. You know what I mean? If it's informed and based on evidence, and you're coming at it from and then you build an opinion based on that. Well, then you can have more people. Then it matters because you're basing it on evidence and you're basing it on stats and statistics and probability and then it becomes more interesting. But if it's just an emotional response, it might matter to the people who agree and think the same way. But anyway, I think it's the internet. I think it became that way because everybody thinks their opinion matters. Everybody thinks that, they want to get out there. There's no nuance, there's no context, and everybody's just at each other's throats and it's perpetuated and massaged and milked by channels that do it, that know how to do it. That know how to get people going and get people riled up, and we live in a group think that has always existed. It's always existed, but it certainly exists a lot more now because of the internet. And the group think mentality, which is just people, and it's in politics, it's in religion, it's in sports, there's a great quote that I saw, which is and it was in politics. Just because I make fun of or point out something of somebody of a particular party doesn't mean that I support their opponent. What was it? A couple of weeks ago, I saw, and I don't talk about politics on this channel for obvious reasons, but I will for a moment because it's to make my overall point, is that I saw this funny Joe Biden logo for his campaign, right? And maybe you guys saw it too, and I thought it was hilarious because it's satire. They're making fun of, you know, him, right? And his, you know, how he's always smelling people's hair and, you know, all that kind of stuff, right? And it was just funny. I thought it was funny, and it said Biden, and the two eyes in Biden, there's one small eye, and then there's a taller eye behind it, and it's like the eye's got like its hands on the smaller eye's shoulders and is going like this. I just thought it was hilarious. And I thought to myself, you know, if I post that on my regular Facebook, not on the many things, but like my regular, to my friends and family, there would be people that would think that, oh, so you're a Trump supporter? Well, number one, I can't vote for Trump because I'm not American. And no, I just think this is funny. Like, I think it's funny in a vacuum. I don't care who it is. That's fucking funny. It's funny. But of course, we live in the groupthink mentality world where, you know, you're either, it's yes or no. There's no context. I make fun of everybody. I don't care if you're, you know, liberal, conservative. I don't care. Funny's funny. Funny is funny, you know, and it doesn't mean that because I'm making fun of something or I find something funny that I automatically support the opponent. No, I think it's funny. It's just funny's funny, you know? So anyway, the point I'm making is that I think this level of groupthink toxicity, it's always existed, but it's made worse because of the internet. There's a lot of wonderful things about the internet, like doing the show and being live and talking to people all over the world. But with that comes the bad, you know, and there's a lot of toxicity out there and a lot of bad shit that just causes people to get riled up and people get so emotional. And I don't even fucking watch the news anymore. I don't watch the news. I'm hardly on social media. I only go on, you know, to scroll or to check messages from time to time. And I can't, because it's just that it's just, I don't understand how people do it. I really don't, you know? And so, I mean, there's always been pockets of it, David, but it's made worse because of the internet and because of the ease of access to information. You know, when we were kids, I don't know how old you are, David, but I'm 41. So when I was a kid, you know, back in the 80s and even the early 90s, now the 24-hour news cycle did come in when I was a young boy, but it wasn't as big as it is now. And I still remember a time when you would only get the news at 6 o'clock at night or 11 o'clock at night. And if you were reading the paper the next day, you didn't have a device attached to your hip where you were doing this all day, you know, inundated with news and you know, opinions and thoughts all day, every day, all day, at nighttime before you go to bed, when you wake up. I mean, it's insane. It's insane, you know, and I think the world was a happier place, maybe a little more naive, maybe, yeah, perhaps. But, you know, I don't know. There was a charm about not being inundated with nonsense. And most of it, I think we can all agree that the vast majority of shit on social media, the vast majority of stuff that you scroll by is dog shit, is worthless, shallow dog shit. Nothing that's going to help you, nothing that's going to change your life, nothing that's going to make you think, it's nonsense. It's shallow, hollow nonsense. The vast majority of it. Ads and little games and you know, little polls and you know, and photos of people, you know's feet, and you know, it's the nonsense. It's nonsense. But you're addicted. Yeah, anyway, so I go off on my tangents, but fuck, man. Just crazy. Frank Riker sends in a super chat. Thank you, Frank. Says, Dave, how is Will Smith going to top Martin's exchange with Eddie McClurg at the rental counter? Oh, Edie, you mean, well, you don't. I don't think you do, Because if you try to replicate that, I don't think you do. I really don't think you do. I don't think you do. I think I was just looking something up to see how old Will Smith is. You don't. You've got to do something that is in that vein, but is different, and it's its own thing. You have to do that. You have to do that. You can't. I hope they don't have Will Smith's character walk up to the counter at a rental place and start and start F-bombing all of, because you're just, no. Do something in that vein, but it's different. He's getting mad at something else and he's saying, you know what I mean? You have to do it. You have to do something different. You can't just do the same thing. Intel Wild, thank you, Intel, says, we need a remake of Jaws with Chris Pratt as Chief Brody. No, we don't. I disagree. Chris Pratt, Jesus, people are obsessed with this guy. No. Chris Pratt as Chief Brody? I don't know. No. David Lee Barron, dear Piche, I had a dream last night where I was being chased by Leatherface wearing your face. I love it. I wonder if it was because of last night's two dudes. It absolutely was because of that. For sure it was. Yeah, it seeped into your subconscious. Absolutely. Well, of course. Absolutely. I don't think if it hadn't been for that, you would be having dreams about Leatherface chasing you with my face. But I love that. That'd be that's amazing. Robert Thidoff says, Dave, I know you have done a best of Halloween intros, but have you ever done a best of Halloween endings? I don't think I have. I might need to put that on the list. I might have to put that on the list. I think I will have to put that on the list. Let's see here. Johnny T says, hi, Dave. If you add the $2,000 a-thon money to Indie Act, won't it be hit with another fee from Indie on top of the 30% you took, probably just to keep it separate? Well, all of it will. It won't itself, but all of the whole total will. But I'm adding it to the total because I want to allow it's a transparency thing. So I want to be transparent with the donors because then they see that money being added to the total. It's the same reason why that if we do an a-thon this month that doesn't get added to the total on the campaign, what I will do is when that money comes in, I will add it to the total in the account, and then I will take a snapshot of the total within the account and show that, as to people, not the whole account, obviously, that's private, but just the total. You know what I mean? I won't type it. I'll show a photo of the total in the account so people, and there'll be an announcement, this total is now, thank you so much. I just want to do that because I think that's fair. I know people trust me and they know that I'm not pocketing that $2,000 and taking a vacation to the Bahamas. But I want to be transparent as best as I can. And, in this kind of a, situation. So I do understand we did think about just taking the $2,000 and, putting it aside, but I want to, I want to show people, I want to be able to show people their contribution on the campaign front, when I can, if I still can, which I still can. So, that I will, do. And on $2,000, it wouldn't be a lot. Like the percentage off of that wouldn't be a lot in the big picture. So, let me see here. Frank Riker says, for the sexy MFers in the chat, thank you so much, Frank. Really appreciate that. You are amazing. Mr. Horror Junkie 78 says, what if Will Smith made a Fresh Prince reference? I wouldn't like that because it would be out of character. It wouldn't make any sense. Because he's not playing the same guy. So if he makes a Fresh Prince reference, that I hope he doesn't make a Fresh Prince reference. Let's just say that. I hope he does not make a Fresh Prince reference. That would tick me off. Willie Talbot says, hi, Dave. You rock, dude. I really like your YouTube channel. Keep rocking it. Thank you so much, Willie. Really appreciate that very much. Let's see here. Let me scroll by. I'm just looking for some people that I have not seen or got before. Hey, it's Manhammer AR-15. He's back. Haven't seen you in a while. Sir Dave of Toronto. Thoughts on an Exorcist remake that takes place in space and the and the demon is Ellen DeGeneres. For a minute there, I thought you were being serious. I would say no. But that, yeah, poor Ellen DeGeneres, man. She's gonna have some explaining to do when her show comes back on the air. That is for sure. Mr. Horror Junkie 78 says, I think Russell Crowe would be a better Chief Brody. Yeah, how old? He might be a little old. Hey, Google, how old is Russell Crowe?
56 years old.
Okay. Hey, Google, what year was Roy Scheider born?
Roy Scheider was born on November 10th, 1932.
Okay, so so Roy Scheider was like my age, essentially, when he did Jaws. And so he's like 15 years younger than Russell Crowe is now. I think Russell Crowe has the gravitas, yes. I think he's a good enough actor, yes. But age-wise, I think it makes probably more sense to do Pratt. I don't know, there's just something about, I don't hate Pratt. There's just something about him. And I think I have this, I don't know, he's too jock boy to me. I don't know. I don't know. It's just, and you know, and everybody hey, how about Chris Pratt for Indiana Jones? Chris Pratt for, Roy, Chief Brody. How about Chris Pratt for Han Solo? How about Chris? It's like, holy shit. Like, what? The people are obsessed with Chris Pratt. I don't get it. I don't get it. So yeah, I think maybe 10 years ago, Russell Crowe. Although, if Russell Crowe gets himself into shape, because, it's kind of hard to believe that Russell Crowe now, although he's not as fat, he's a little chunky, but he's not as fat as he appears in Unhinged. He was actually, as far as I know, he was wearing a fat belly, not a fat suit, but a fat belly, to make himself look heavier than he actually is. Now he's not like Gladiator Kurt Russell right now. But he's a little chunky, but he's not as chunky as he appears in Unhinged. I don't think anyway. But if you're going to have him as Chief Brody going out onto an orca to fight off a 25-foot great white shark, he's got to look like he's, not one donut away from type 2 diabetes. I mean, let's be honest here. I think it's type 2 is the worst one, right? Whatever the worst one is, 1 or 2, I got to believe that he can handle himself here, not necessarily Gladiator, Russell Crowe, but he's got to look, did I say Kurt Russell? If I did, I meant Russell Crowe. Yeah. That's how I think of that anyway. Let me scroll down here. We'll go for another 10 minutes. We'll take this thing to 12:30. I don't think I missed any super chats. I think that was the last one there. Frank Riker set up. It was the last one. Okay, great. Gypsy Warrior says, Dave, how do you feel about the Highlander remake? Is there? I haven't seen it if there is one. I haven't seen it. I don't know. Is there one? Or are you talking about the potential of making? Is there a Highlander remake? Why am I blanking on this? I should know this. David Lee Barron, thank you very much. I was about to read your thing and I wanted to thank you before that. David Lee Barron, thank you very much. What Halloween 1978 is for you, Spider-Man 2002 is for me. Really? People often forget the impact that movie had for its time. Well, yes, it definitely had some impact. I can't say that it had the same impact statistically as Halloween did. Obviously it made more money than Halloween, but it's because it was a different movie. Halloween is more financially successful because it made over $50 million on a $320,000 budget. Became the highest grossing independent movie of all time. Spider-Man, though, was that movie that it did very well. It got a lot of people excited about what superhero movies could be now, moving into the early 2000s. And of course, it followed up with Spider-Man 2, which was arguably just as good, if not better. And then shit hit the fan with Spider-Man 3. I actually don't think Spider-Man 3 is a bad movie. I just think it's too convoluted. It's too convoluted. And it's unfortunate that Raimi wasn't able to come back and finish it off. It is unfortunate. because now it feels like, I know they call it the Sam Raimi trilogy. Yeah, but it's got this weird ending with Kirsten Dunst and Tobey Maguire just dancing and crying, and it's just fucking weird. It doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like the story's complete, because it wasn't complete. You know what I mean? So it's got this weird ending to it. The Sam Raimi. I'm like, it's not a trilogy. There's not a beginning, middle, and an end. There's a beginning, middle, and a end. It feels so weird. It's a weird kind of thing. So I wouldn't, I don't think that anyway. I don't think it's as bad as people make it out to be, but I know his dancing and shit. And I know there's some weird shit in that movie. There is, but it's unfortunate that Raimi didn't have the chance to redeem himself or make it worse with doing a Spider-Man 4. Because it feels so messy when they have those 3 movies, and then there's the Andrew Garfield 2 movies, and then now you have Tom Holland. It feels messy. I hate that shit. I hate the incompetence. It feels messy. It's like, what? Like, now we have, it just feels gross. It feels gross to me. I like, because you don't just get emotionally attached to the character. You get emotionally attached to the actor playing the character. And I'm not saying that Tom Holland isn't a great Spider-Man. He isn't a great, Peter Parker. I'm not saying that. He is. He's great. But it just sucks that you have to reset all the time to get emotionally attached to somebody else. And it's because of incompetence. That's what it is. It's what it is. And it just fucking pisses me off. It pisses me off. It's always pissed me off. I hate that shit. Let me see here. Aaron Click says, Dave, I plan on buying another perk for the It's Me Billy campaign. Just wanted to let you know, because I really want to see you get to your goal, I think is what you mean. Well, I really appreciate that, man. Thank you so much. And remember, folks, it's not just about, people buying the big perks. It's the smaller perks that can really help as well. If enough people buy a lot of the smaller perks, those add up. And listen, by any measure, we've done really well. And, but if we can get to 50,000, that's just another $6,000, then we'll be in a very good spot, a very, very good spot. So that's what we're hoping to do. And remember, you can donate as well. If you've already picked up a perk and you're like, well, I don't want to buy another perk. I don't want like 10 DVDs. You don't have to. You can, if you got $10 in your pocket that you want to donate, $5, $2, $100, whatever, you can. If you're on your desktop, just go to the back it button. If you're on your phone, just scroll to the end of the perks and you'll see a button that says, make a donation with 2 shaking hands. And you can make a donation, and those go to the campaign as well. They're not associated with any perks, so you won't get anything for it, but that is just, that's just you being a generous person saying, hey, here's $10, hey, here's, $30, $2, whatever. Those can add up too. So we really appreciate, regardless, Bruce and I are floored at the generosity and the belief in the project. It's so funny when I this Thursday, I'm having Lynn Griffin on the show. And for those of you that may not know who she is, she played Claire in the original Black Christmas. And she's had a great career in film and stage, theater, TV. And she's the one that has the bag over her head in Black Christmas, the classic iconic, shot, right? That's her character. So anyway, I got in touch with her and we talked on the phone a couple of days ago. We talked for about an hour or so. And sometimes the entertainment industry can be small. And we realized that we have the same agent. And I was like, oh my God, you're with so-and-so too. Yeah, I was like, oh, I didn't know that. That's so crazy. So what a small world it can be. But she's just a sweetheart. She's a doll. And we chatted for about an hour. And when she picked up, now she knew I was going to be calling her. And when she picked up the phone, maybe she had this set up, which is kind of cute if she did. But maybe not. Maybe I just happened to catch her at the time that she was doing it. But nonetheless, when I called, she picked up and I could hear the teaser for It's Me, Billy playing in the background. I was like, oh, you're watching the teaser. And she's like, yes, I am. She's like, I love this. She said, I love the fact that it began with a creaking, rocking chair, and she said, maybe that's me still in the chair. And I'm like, it might be all these years. No one's found you. Anyway, she is a hoot. You guys are going to love her. She's got charisma, and she's charming, and she's energetic, and she's, of course, got a great career behind her. So that's this Thursday on McRae Live at 11 o'clock a.m. So don't miss that. I can't wait to speak to her more in depth and have you guys get to know her a bit more. But we are just amazed at the response, and people who are really excited about this. We really think it's the Black Christmas film that people didn't even know and look, not only maybe not know they wanted, but I hate to say it, but the 2019 film probably has helped us in some ways. It did rub some people the wrong way. So for better or worse. So it rubbed some people, but what's going on. But yeah, really excited to have her on. Really excited to have her on. And she's got some interesting stories that I think you guys are going to find really interesting. That's all I will say there. So fun stuff indeed. Fun stuff indeed. Okay, let's see here. Jason Knight says, gotta go, everyone. I will see you guys later doing a commentary on the closet scene from Halloween 78 tomorrow on my channel, so stay tuned. Amazing, Jason. Have some fun with that. Let's see here. Gypsy Warrior says, Dave, the Highlander reboot is in development with the John Wick director. Oh, okay. Well, okay. Got the John Wick director. Okay, that's promising. I'm open to hearing more. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting in the sense of the developments of this movie. The movie could be dog shit, but I'm interested in knowing more. We'll see. We'll see. Definitely interested in knowing more, for sure. Let me see here. Duke Fleet says, take care. Jason Zach Frederick says, in that earlier post, I meant to say Spider-Man 02 number 1, not number 1. Sorry, folks. Earlier post, what did you say there? Yes, David, Spider-Man 02 is the greatest live-action Spider-Man ever. Even though I did like... the Nicholas Hammond one from the 70s, Tom Holland now. Oh, it was a great movie. It was a great movie, for sure. Oh, I loved it. Yeah, I thought it was great. And I thought Spider-Man 2 was very good also. Oliver Mercer sends in a £5 super chat. Thank you so much, Oliver. Says, hey, Dave, did you hear that John Carpenter, you mean absolutely, maybe absolutely hates the 2018 mask, plus when will the money be taken? I think you are, maybe you're making a quip because of something I said. John Carpenter did not hate the Halloween 18 mask. He said he did, but whether he probably, this is the thing, is that he John Carpenter is the kind of guy that will make a quip and a joke, and he'll let you figure it out whether he's joking or not. What I got from the story that Christopher Nelson told on The Thing with Two Heads is that, no, Carpenter wasn't being he was being serious to a point, but John Carpenter's the kind of guy that he's, if he thinks something is shit, he'll tell you it's shit. But if he's quipping and he's busting your balls, he won't tell you he's doing it either. He probably was being a little facetious. That's shit. Hey, what do you think? I think it's dog shit. It's shit. Probably being a little sarcastic. You know what I mean? So let's not overanalyze John Carpenter's thoughts on the 18 mask like some of the outlets have here. Yeah, and plus when will the money be taken out regarding the purchases? Money will be, well, it depends, right? Like the campaign has to end. Bruce and I have to move into full-on pre-production, which is what we've started doing now. Some perks can be rolled out possibly before the end of the year, but the bigger perks like, the movie, getting the movie on Blu-ray and special features, well, that can't be done until the movie is shot and completed. So that kind of stuff, if we can shoot the movie at the end of November, if that does happen, and it still may not happen because of COVID and second waves and all that kind of stuff. But if it does happen, you won't be getting the Blu-rays or the digital downloads and, all that stuff. You won't be getting it probably till this time next year, is when you'll start to see that. Posters, shirts, We might be able to roll them out before the end of the year. But signed posters, I mean, we got to be together with the cast and crew as well. Safe bet is you'll start to see perks rolling out probably next year. Early next year is when you'll start to see perks begin to roll out. I think that's what you mean. I think anyway. All right, folks. Hey, that's going to do it for me for episode 92 of McRae Live. I want to thank my moderators, of course, Frank Riker, Darren Sands, Jason Nike, and Tabitha Short for doing what you guys do, keeping the chat room flowing as best you can. And thank you to everybody who sent in super chats, of course. I really appreciate that. It goes right back into the channel. And don't forget, folks, link in the description, the It's Me Billy campaign. Anything you guys can help out with. Don't feel you got to drop bombs. You want to donate $2? Donate $2. 2,000 people donated $2. I mean, hey, if 108 people, there's 108 people watching, that's about to go down. But if 108 people all donated $5, it adds up, folks. It adds up. So anything you guys can do to help us get to 50,000 before the end of the campaign would be amazing. We really appreciate it. And I will be back on Thursday at 11 o'clock a.m. for McRae Live with Lynn Griffin. So make sure you tune into that. Don't miss it because it's going to be an awesome show. So in the meantime and in between time, I will talk to you guys soon. Alrighty. Cheers.